Hey guys, thank you so much for waiting and for joining. I hope you did watch Oprah's session with Kamala Harris. And I'm not sure whether you watched it, with us. I hope you enjoyed our watch party. And then we're going to have a town hall very soon, hopefully this weekend. I will ask you in the newsletter for a day to vote when you would like to join so I can hear your feedback as to, we tested the system, what you liked, what you didn't like, and whatnot. Um, but I do hope you watched it for one reason. And that's why I'm delayed, coming up live. I'm delayed because of the Oprah event, but generally, I made calls now because I decided we need to shift gears a little bit. I'm grateful for this event that Oprah produced, and I understand it was Harpo production. Really resembled the Oprah show, which certainly, maybe you missed, maybe you did not miss, but certainly this was in style. This was typical Oprah thing. But what I realized that this is not this spot in television is not filled where we listen to each other and where we hear each other, which leads me to a point where we're talking about actual news here. And actual news are important, right? Where you hear that, listen, this is exactly what happened, and this is what you were told actually didn't happen. And so you can go to sleep or proceed with your day knowing what is the truth, right? So you're well informed. But what if, let's say, you've heard a piece of news about immigration or abortion laws or gun laws or anything, really anything. And then you heard from a person or people who are affected by this policy or this piece of news. Because let's be frank, not all the news and everything that you're hearing from me, right? I'm going to hear list or talk about Air Force died and everything, right? Not all the pieces of news are personal to you, but politics are personal, news are personal. So for that reason, I'm making a decision now to shift gears to our live streams. Newsletter is perfect. We'll leave it as is. You get your newsletters. There's quick news. There's articles. There are. Today, I'm also introducing quick videos where I put all the viral videos that I suggest for you to watch that are no longer than 2 minutes each. Newsletter is great. That's where you're informed. But for live streams, for our actual news and live streams, I want to bring up the people factor, where we start hearing from decision makers and when we start hearing from those affected by the decisions, good, bad, or ugly. So we can see that really, politics is personal, and then what we're voting on affects us, yes, but also many others. So that's why I was making calls already for tomorrow. For that reason, you had to a tiny bit wait. I just went and looked. Okay, you guys are having, hi Olga, hi Brandon. We've been chatting away. I thought maybe we were in the wrong spot. No, you're in the right spot. Thank you so much for being here, Keith. Olga, the community aspect of your platform is what makes it unique. Exactly. And I think we need to grow our community, but also I think it will benefit us if we hear from people that are who are affected by certain policies and news. And like we're hearing about Air Force today, but let's hear from somebody from Air Force who wasn't support or maybe did not support certain decision. Because we need to get the people factor, we need to connect with each other, because what social media did, honestly, is um, virtually we are more connected than ever, right? If you want to reach out to your auntie in Australia, in a matter of a click, you're there. But what social media did, right? It promoted or prompted people to create sort of this album of the best moments, right? And I was just on the phone explaining it, or discussing it, that on social media, remember, like when you, before social media existed, when you would go on vacation, you would come back with an album, right, or with pictures that you would then pay to be made at CVS or wherever. And it's an album with like the best moments, right? Oh, here I'm swimming, here I'm visiting this, here I'm visiting that, here's, us posing on the beach and everything. And then you would hear the stories, but actually food wasn't great, but actually the couple we went with was fighting half the time, actually the weather was annoying. But what was there is the album of greatest moments. So now this is the Instagram. This is the Twitter shitter. Shitter is a bit different. The Twitter shitter is a bit different. It's very political. It's very echo chamber thing. But in general, social media is that album of best moments. So when you go on it, you either blast your best moments or you consume others' best moments and feel some type of way. Either you're like, oh, whatever, or you start getting jealous or motivated or whatever, right? It prompts some sort of a reaction, usually, right? Keith says, wait, Kodak albums are old. Oh my God, I feel ancient. Me too. Exactly. That's what I was discussing on the phone. I wish you guys were on the phone with me. Because I was talking to the folks. I was like, listen, we need to talk about gun laws. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about that. If you're fighting for this cause, come on up. Tell me why you're doing that. Also with politicians, why are you voting for this bill? Let's stop talking about people who are voicing paid opinions. And we know those people, we know it. When we watch somebody telling us why they voted anti-IVF rights, right? And they try to explain it, but it's all political talk. And they're just simply afraid of the fella in Mar-a-Lago. You know it. You feel it. It has nothing to do with people. But we need to talk with politicians. We need to bring back the main idea that a person is elected to represent views and interests of a group of people. That is politics, actually. Now, press is the one that listens to people. Like, what the heck do you want to be done and decided upon? And then you go to politicians and say, wait a second, how are you going to make this happen for the community that elected you and essentially is paying your salary and your lifestyle? Right? So that's the basics of politics, the basics of media. So let's bring that to what it's supposed to be. That's what I want to have here, right? And Kodak albums, yes, that's exactly, the idea was. I always feel ancient. Me too. Listen, me too. I'm trying to do TikTok videos with, like where you have the background and I'm like the floating face and all that. I'm doing it. And meanwhile, my little voice in my head is like, what are you doing, girl? What the hell? Anyway, as long as we feel as teenagers, it's all good. But that's the idea, that I think it's very, very important. And regardless, if you think about the election, let's say Kamala Harris wins, which I truly believe will be. And by the way, somebody complained to press office or something that I was with science. I'm going to give you more reasons to complain here. Harris Walls sign. Complain again. See, I gave you a job for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to bring up the thing so you can email again, whoever you are. Anyway, so if Kamala Harris wins, right, you see her attention to the media. The media is there to produce headlines and all this usual breaking news, and she's not into it. So it's very important to have news outlets that are actually listening to her and connecting her to people. Because it's very difficult when you are on that level to be connected to those who elected you, because everything that is done by your own staff and the media and everybody is to keep you away, right? That's their job, which is truly what they're doing. So it would be great to connect her to people. Now, if Trump wins, we need certainly an outlet for actual news, yes, but also hearing from people, because we lived that. We know how that feels. Those 4 years felt like, remember he tested a thing where your phone would buzz at 4 a.m. and it says, here's your favorite president. I mean, that thing, and that was just kindergarten, because he didn't know. I bet you when he got into the Oval Office, he didn't know 99% of anything that he can do, or he should do, or he shouldn't do. Now he's more informed. So this will be his shit show on steroids. Um, you know, Michael, you might have joined Twitter at the worst time in its history. I've been on Twitter for just 2 years. I'm learning what to listen to and what not to. And Michael, actually, I'm in your shoes because it says on my account that I started in 2016. I started the account in 2016. I haven't used Twitter for exactly 2 years. Yeah. And then the first year I was just vanilla because I was like, hopefully nobody is trolling me. I hate being trolled, right? And when Trump was leaving office, I remember I remember when he said, like, I'm leaving office. And by the way, we're going to get to actual news. No worries. Remember when he was leaving office and he said, I'm going to have the biggest red carpet ever, the biggest red carpet. And then I recorded this thing when he was leaving the White House during the inauguration. And that's how, he never managed to meet Kamala Harris. And they put this little, like a little bathroom thingy, red bathroom thingy in front of the helicopter, Marine One, when he was leaving. And I took the video and I said, is that the greatest carpet ever, red carpet ever? And it went viral and I was harassed. And so I deleted my account and I thought, oh God, or I blocked it, deactivated. So I'm in your shoes. I joined in the worst time ever. So, Okay, let's get to the actual news. Here we go. So we start on a good note. Harris and Walz campaign. I have 3 videos of Tim Walz that I really want us to watch. This is really like for the soul thing. First is the video where a woman showed up to his rally or his interaction with the voters, if you will, and she had earrings with his face on it. So check his reaction.
Okay, that's the greatest thing I've seen today. Hear this. You see these earrings?
Okay, I love them.
This is a first for me, the first earring I've ever been on. And it's as cool as you think it would be.
It's the first earring I've ever been on, and it's as cool as could be. Then he went to Asheville, North Carolina. I was lucky enough to live in Asheville, North Carolina. It's very different from other parts, but take a look.
Okay, Asheville, you win. You win. My team just said this is the best rally crowd we have seen, and I think they're absolutely right. Wow. Fight.
So then he was in Georgia. Remember a guy called Parker? So the first video I think I shared of him was he's in Georgia. He's from Georgia. And he is organizer for youth, I think youth voters or Democrats, youth Democrats, something like that, where he was delivering a speech about the education and the certain books being banned and, education suffering in Georgia. Then he was at the DNC. And there was this Charlie Kirk, whatever his name is, the KKK guy who showed up and Parker, straightened him up. So here's Tim Walz with Parker.
Hey everybody, Governor Tim Walz here in Georgia, if you can't tell, with my friend Parker.
Hey y'all, it's an honor to be here with our next Vice President of the United States, but y'all have to make it happen. And you need to vote all the way down your ballot for reproductive freedom, for gun safety. Young people can be the difference. Y'all get organized on your campus so we can send him to the White House.
It's National Voter Registration Day. IWillVote.com, get on there. When we vote, we win.
When we vote,
Thanks,
we win.
everybody.
Thank you, Governor Walz.
Thanks, Parker.
Yeah, to your point, right? Did you see the guy who you talk about, Keith, in North Carolina, where he said, there are some rumors about me, but nothing is true, but this and that. And then they started screenshotting him commenting on porn sites that he's a Nazi. He's like, I'm a black Nazi. And he did, who comments on porn sites with his own picture? Oh my God. Keith, was that your comment that I saw? Who comments that? And then you said, or somebody said, somebody who allegedly is looking for a political career. That's somebody who does that crap. Incredible. And then just remember what Clinton was, prosecuted and impeached for. Like, just remember. And then now we're dealing with this. And this guy runs for election and might even win. Weird times we live in. Now, Vice President Harris is successfully winning over key Polish voters from Poland in swing states, while Trump's pro-Putin policy threatens his support among this demographic. And I posted it, and I got all this weird MAGA people saying, no, I'm from Poland. I hate Harris. I hate Walz. I hate everybody. Yeah, there are a lot of Trumpers among Ukrainians who immigrated, among Polish, among any Russians, whatever, Eastern Europeans, which is fine. I mean, there are people who are pro-Russia who live here, right, and who immigrated from Russia or from even Ukraine, and they're pro-Russian war. I mean, things happen, right? But let's focus on the majority. So majority of Polish people are supporting Harris because she took this very straightforward stance against Putin for Ukraine at the debate. She said Putin has to lose, Ukraine will win. So also what I'm going to read out quickly here, but all the lineup is presented in your newsletter tonight. And if you're not subscribed, get it here, onest.substack.com. So local Teamsters unions nationwide, particularly in crucial battleground states like Michigan, Nevada, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, are showing strong support for Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz. Representing a collective membership of 1 million Teamsters, these unions are launching door-knocking campaigns and other voter outreach initiatives in these key areas. Additionally, many Teamsters have taken to both local and national television to emphasize that Kamala Harris has dedicated her career to advocating for labor rights, in stark contrast to Donald Trump, who has celebrated firing striking workers, as you've heard him telling that to Musk, right? You tell them you can't protest and then just keep firing them. Trump's Project 2025 agenda poses a serious threat to the right to organize. So here's a quote on CNN. Teamsters Black Caucus Chair James Kirby said that he was disappointed Teamsters President Sean O'Brien did not stand up for former President didn't stand up to former President Donald Trump, whom he described as a bully, and questioned the polling. The union cited to defend its decision to not endorse a presidential candidate for the first time in nearly 3 decades. Remember those emails that we talked about yesterday where they met with Harris, they endorsed previously Biden, but now they decided not to endorse anybody and put this weird polls where Trump is allegedly leading by far. So that's what they're referring to. Teamsters said internal polling showed that a majority of its members supported Trump over Vice President Harris. Kirby asked, what is the actual number of people that took part in those polls? And claimed that the poll numbers are fake. Quote, any labor leaders thinking that Donald Trump is the candidate of choice should turn their union card in. This man laughed at the most valuable tool that all labor unions have. That is a strike, Kirby said, referring to a conversation between Trump and Musk last month in which Trump applauded Musk for supposedly firing workers. Quote, Kirby said the union's Black Caucus is doing its own organizing in support of Harris. So statistically now 60% of Teamsters actually endorse Harris. And they're pissed, rightfully so, that their leader did not listen to them. He was just pissed that he didn't get a speaking thing at the DNC, but he got a speaking gig at the RNC. So again, we call politics as personal. Yeah, it's personal. And for some people, it's also ego-driven. Yeah, it's personal, not in the way where it bothers me that people will be affected by what I'm doing or what I'm saying. It's personal because my ego ain't satisfied. Let's talk about the government for a little. Ooh, viral video of the day. I'm not sure if you saw it. Little preview. So, remember how Trump campaign says that he has no idea about Project 2025. Project 2025 is not related to Trump. It's really nothing, it had nothing to do with it. So today, House Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett demolished Republicans during today's U.S. House hearing on Biden and Harris policies. Republicans claimed, or MAGA people claimed, that they have no policies and that everything is fake, nothing is happening, everything is a disaster, they need to be impeached for everything and anything. So here's Jasmine Crockett putting them into place, but also pointing out a very special and important thing, vital thing about Project 2025. Enjoy.
The only reason we're having this hearing is because somebody got their feelings hurt in a debate. And I don't understand why we're wasting taxpayer dollars. Next time, tell your big boy to show up and be ready to handle the woman in the room who hopefully will become the next president of the United States. Nevertheless, while we do have two amazing authors from Project 2025, which it seems like everybody got the memo. Like, yes, I'm going to double down and say it's my thing, but I'm going to make sure I also say that it ain't our homeboys thing, because we know that it doesn't poll very well with the American people, because the American people are woke enough to recognize that there is nothing good in it for them. So with that being said, Ms. Perryman, I'm just curious, and this is yes or no. Is Trump's name ever mentioned in Project 2025? Yes or no? Yes or no? I got you. I got you. Okay. 5 times.
I haven't counted.
Oh, okay. Well, if I told you that his name is mentioned approximately 312 times, would you have any reason to dispute that?
I don't have any reason.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's interesting that we want to try to pretend. We're not going to pretend in here. We're going to work with facts and not fiction. So I also want to talk about inflation really quickly with you, Ms. Perryman, because we've talked about it a lot. I'm just curious to know, is the inflation that we just struggled through, was that global or was that limited to the United States?
Global.
Global. Seemingly, it was attached to this thing called the global pandemic. Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just the United States.
No.
Okay, so it wasn't just a matter of the Biden-Harris administration and the United States is struggling, right?
I think the United States actually fared better than the rest.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we are, correct?
I think so, yeah.
All right, but inflation still hurts, and so that's why we have a candidate that has an actual plan instead of concepts of a plan, or as I like.
And by the way, I'm showing this video, and the quality is very crappy. It says for X whatever, we're diminishing or like we're degrading the quality of the video. Somebody's not paying for storage because somebody closed offices, right? Closed an office in San Francisco, closed storage facilities all over. That's why we see shitty videos. Strong Black women are saving our country from fascists. Amen. Amen. And now we say it out loud, but it has been happening before. Okay, now we know that the Republicans are being worked at or worked on by Trump. He calls them. I was on a call with a few Congress members where they said he calls everybody every day for a week asking not to pass or approve the budget, which was actually a bipartisan decision to be approved on, right? They both work together. They agreed upon that no specifically MAGA or ultra-liberal people will be writing it. So everything was smooth. And now Trump calls and asks them not to pass it. So we're going to watch first a video from the press conference of Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Then I'm going to have a readout from what I told you, the Air Force conference that I'm covering. I'm going to read out 2 news to you, and then we're going to connect the dots together. All right? That's our game plan. So let's listen to Jeffries.
The House has a responsibility to keep the government open and meet the needs of the American people. Pursuant to the United States Constitution, all appropriations bills have to initiate in the House of Representatives. The extreme MAGA Republicans are determined to shut the government down and hurt everyday Americans because they are on an ideological crusade. This is not anti-woke week. It's Project 2025 week. In fact, every week is Project 2025 week, because that is the extreme MAGA Republican agenda. And we're determined to stand up for the American people. I have not spoken to Speaker Johnson today or subsequent to the collapse of the House Republican shutdown bill, but time is short. Our staffs are in communication with each other, and what occurs over the next few days will be determinative as to whether we can find the common ground necessary to fund the government, avoid a shutdown, and meet the needs of the American people. This should not be complicated. In May of last year, more than 300 members of the House of Representatives, including a majority of House Republicans, supported the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act, which set top-line spending numbers for fiscal year 2025. And we all agreed that partisan policy writers would be left out of any appropriations bills. House Republicans are violating their own agreement. Why? Because they want to jam Trump's Project 2025 agenda down the throats of the American people, and in the alternative, shut down the government. That's reckless and irresponsible. We will continue to stand up for the American people.
Yes, Sir Jeffries. Yes, Project 2025, but there's also other reason. Keep the thought. The Air Force warns that without a budget for fiscal year 2025, military readiness could be compromised as Congress approaches a potential shutdown. And by the way, all the details are in tonight's newsletter. All the receipts, all the data, all the numbers. Continuing resolutions would freeze spending, delay critical equipment purchases, and hinder troop pay increases. Key programs, including nuclear modernization and vital munitions, could face significant setbacks, putting in jeopardy U.S. strategic goals and giving adversaries an advantage. Urgent action is needed to ensure resources align with our defense priorities. Now, keep in mind, military budget is not January 1st through December 31st. It starts from October 1st through the last day of September. Okay? The budget that they need to approve is also for October 1st. Vice presidential debate is October 1st. The fighting East Coast, West Coast facilities in terms of, what am I looking for? Maritime. Anyway, I'll remember. Many things are connected to October 1st. Now, okay, keep the thought. The Space Force is preparing to award billions in launch contracts by the end of the year. But this hinges on Congress passing a budget. If only a continuing resolution is approved, timelines may shift. By late 2024, they aim to advance the National Security Space Launch Program. And now this is connected to satellites. What I'm hearing from Space Force, which the conference is for Air Force and Space Force, it finished today. More articles are coming. I'm digesting, I'm going to be interviewing, by the way, the general of Air Force that is running the procurement, that is ensuring that all airbase facilities have enough equipment. NATO as well, when it comes to nuclear, when it comes to planes and missiles and everything. So we gonna interview him. You're gonna tell me questions in our town hall, and I'm gonna ask them, and we're gonna have an interview. We're also gonna hear from another person that is responsible for introducing AI into the Air Force. That is all coming next week in forms of interviews. right? I didn't want to bother them through the conference, so we get like what 2-3 minutes promo thing. I want to have some answers to the questions. So keep in mind, by late 2024, they aim to advance the National Security Space Launch Program, crucial for deploying military satellites from 2025 through 2029. Now, what are military satellites? We're not talking about internet or anything. This is very much used. If you read your newsletter yesterday, I talked about how US military used military satellites, and they could create a marketplace where commercial companies could offer satellites or intelligence, right? They could buy intelligence commercially, so from private companies. When they were leaving Niger, right? So when they were leaving their facility, they were lacking knowledge. 5 miles, they said the 5 miles radius, they didn't know what was happening, what were the threats. So they had to rely on commercial intelligence to tell them where to go and what to do. And so it proved to be really working well. And so they created an entire program where military satellites would be deployed in space to help our military, our Air Force, our Space Force to function. Also, when it comes to Space Force, Russia and China have been investing a lot in their space programs where they would be able to shut down or cause malfunction in our planes, in our missiles. They can control and affect it from space through their satellites. So we need to have satellites in space that would be deactivating their satellites. So that's the whole idea, right? So now, key certification flights for ULA's Vulcan and Blue Origin. Vulcan, I don't know who owns that, but Blue Origin, Bezos. New Glenn rockets are upcoming, and success in these tests will be vital for mission readiness. The stakes are high, with nearly 50 missions at risk. Urgent action is needed to secure funding and maintain competition in the launch market. So, let's put it frank. When Musk started the whole thing with satellites and with the Starlink, it really exploded with Trump in office. Trump created the Space Force. He allocated, I think, about $20 billion over time to SpaceX. SpaceX became a contractor for our government and the only one, right? So they own the space. Now, when I talked to the former head of NASA, they said, we are relying on Musk. And in our job, we need to be planning for decades in advance, right? Decades forward. With Musk, you can't plan what you're going to have for dinner today because things will change. The guy is on whatever he's taking. So, and everything is for sale. And certainly there's Russia involved, there's China. He produces cars in China, and any company in China is 51% controlled by Chinese government, including Tesla production facilities. He's also connected to Russia, right? All of that stuff. So what they're doing now, they need to create a market. And for that market, they need to allow those two companies, the Vulcan and Blue Origin, to run their tests, about 50 tests. For that, they need the money. If the tests prove to be right, then they will be also getting contracts, which allows us to slowly detach from just relying on Musk and his persona, right? And his agenda. Now, if this budget is not approved, if the government is shut down, right, we understand Project 2025, and Trump wants the government to do badly. Specifically, of course, yesterday, the Feds lowered by 0.5% the interest rates, and so he hates it. He wants the economy to do badly. He wants the government to do badly. He wants Biden to do badly, right? And people relate things that Biden has nothing to do with him because, then Trump wins. That's the story. I understand that that's the political part. Now, the military part. this is in very much in interest of Elon Musk not to have this budget to be approved, because then everything is delayed, then nothing is happening. Now, when I posted today, and it will be in your newsletter also, a graph, right? When money is allocated to Ukraine, where does it go to? And it leads, all the roads lead to Rome. In this case, all the roads lead to Pentagon. And Ukraine is relying on those satellites. Ukraine is relying on production of planes and all that, right? The procurement. So this budget is very much related to Musk, very much related to war in Ukraine, very much related to our security. You've heard it just now from Air Force. It will be freezing our spending, delaying critical equipment purchases, and hinder troop pay increases, key programs, nuclear modernization, vital munitions. All of that will be delayed. So that is what I think is prompting Trump to start calling the Senate every single day, many, many times. Does Musk control the satellites he set up for his internet? Yes, literally on his computer. That's how he was dumb enough to talk about it. And he went live and streamed it. You know, he goes live and streams like him playing on the computer thing. And at some point, I think it was a year ago, more than a year ago, when Ukraine did the offensive, and he shut down Starlinks. He said, listen, I was looking up at this map. Ukrainians are coming, Russians are coming. So I shut down their Starlinks and people were killed and Ukrainians did not progress. He blabbered it himself. So, yeah. Something which seriously concerns me, in some of the elites among the fascists are going all in. SCOTUS, Elmo, Heritage Foundation. Yeah, and it's just going to get worse. Yeah, Paul, it's going to get worse. It just keeps getting worse the more we find out about Trump. I agree. Yeah, he's the useful idiot, right, as they call them. I'm not blaming him to be an idiot. Not my job, it's a saying. But he is that person that would do anything for personal engagement. If you listen, please comment. I think the last Friday, I shared in our newsletter a link to a program in the 80s where a Russian spy was telling how to affect the United States and how they plan to do so for decades and for decades in advance. And he was wondering, how easy it works. And with Trump, it was very easy to control him because, money, girls, pee-pee tapes, showers, whatever, golden showers, easy to control somebody who is really operating on this basic feels, right? Who's not controlling themselves. I think Trump also foolishly believes he can blame Kamala and Biden for a shutdown, even though seriously, he thinks, everything has to be bad. It also has to give him content, right? Because if everything is right, what are you going to talk about? Kamala is not 81. She's not moving slow like Biden does, right? There's no physical things to comment on. They tried the laughter, right? They tried the accent. They tried the black, not black idea. It failed. All of it failed, right? News cycle is gone. We can't bring it up anymore. What's next? There's nothing physical that you can do. She's a great family. Her husband supports her. All of the little tricks that they tried to pull all failed. So now you need to cause chaos. And I really like the question of Meryl Streep. If you watch the Oprah session with Kamala Harris, where she asked, listen, do you guys have a plan? If you win, and the guy did not recognize the decision, do Democrats, does the DNC have a plan? How to ensure that on January 6th, the result, assuming she has won, will be recognized officially by the Congress. And what if not? What if it goes back to states? What if it goes to Supreme Court? All the questions we need to be asking now. Let's talk about President Biden. So Kirby yesterday joined the press briefing at the White House, and I wanted to show those clips today because we're coming closer to the weekend. He laid out a very busy schedule for President Biden for this weekend and next week. Let's take it step by step. So I told you this Saturday he's meeting the leader of Japan. the leader of India, Modi, the leader of Australia, the Quad meeting, right? And Biden, four of them, so Quad, in Wilmington, Delaware, in his hometown. So he will be showing them his school he went to, this high school, also his house, and it will be very personal. So here's Kirby to explain what the heck will be happening.
It'll be the first time we've hosted foreign leaders in Wilmington, the president's hometown. And he's very excited about that, about showing them a place and a community that shaped so much of the public servant and the leader that he became. It's also a reflection of his belief that, like politics, foreign policy is also personal. And the president is enormously proud of the personal relationships that he has with each of these these three leaders, sorry. Indian Prime Minister Modi, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida, and Australian Prime Minister Albanese. The president will meet individually with each of them, and they will also gather together in a larger plenary session where they will discuss expanding cooperation across a range of critically important issues. We believe that you'll see coming out of this summit that the Quad is more strategically aligned and more relevant than ever before. I think you can expect a robust agenda aimed at delivering concrete benefits to the people of the region as they all identify priorities such as health security, natural disaster response, maritime security, quality infrastructure, critical and emerging technologies, climate and clean energy, and cybersecurity. You'll also see some announcements that demonstrate our intention to make sure that this special partnership, the Quad, endures and in fact thrives over the long term.
Then today at the White House briefing, ad from CBS, who sort of like he's sitting physically next to Ducey, but he's like an extension of Ducey. And I decided not to cut out that clip, not to give them cloud, let's say, because why? But they raised questions. They said, why is President meeting them not in DC, not in New York, not because of UN, not in Camp David? Why is it Wilmington, Delaware? Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary of the White House, said, White House press secretary said, it is personal. He wants to have a personal meeting. He has a personal relationship with those leaders, and he wants to show that not even national, but international politics are also personal. And then mainly complained about, but why is there no press conference, right? There will be a photo opportunity. There will be pooled press will be filming them going to the school, checking out around the house, being, in Wilmington area, but there will be no press conference. So how come we can't scream questions? All we're getting is just photo ops, right? And the idea was not to let press intervene, because these leaders, right, they come from Japan, from Australia, from India, have different cultural backgrounds. Press screaming, you saw it with Starmer, getting obnoxious, right? And press complained that, listen, all of the people who are watching us here sitting at the White House press briefings complaining, they don't understand why, but we don't get access. How come we don't get access? And so that was the big thing today, with a lot of drama and somebody screaming, and Karine said, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to Ed. And Ed was not satisfied with any answer she could give him, and all this drama. Also, on September 23rd in the morning, President Biden will host President of the UAE at the White House, the Emirates, to strengthen the U.S.-UAE strategic partnership. During the visit, Biden and Vice President Harris will discuss bilateral and regional issues, focusing on regional stability, advanced technology, artificial intelligence, investments, and space exploration. They will also coordinate on security, defense, counterterrorism, climate change, energy transition, and initiatives to promote peace and prosperity. So listen to Kirby as to what they have in plans.
On Monday, the 23rd of September, President Biden will welcome the President of the United Arab Emirates, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, to the White House. Now, this will be the first ever visit by a president of the UAE to Washington, so it's a historic one. The Vice President will also meet separately with President Mohammed. Both the president and the vice president have spoken with or met with President Mohammed at multiple points throughout the administration, and we look forward to the opportunity to have face-to-face discussions here. In particular, the president and the vice president will discuss a number of bilateral and regional matters together with areas of deepening cooperation in advanced technology, clean energy, space, supply chain resiliency, and critical infrastructure investments. The UAE has made a number of recent announcements with respect to strategic investments in climate and clean energy, all of which build on the Partnership to Accelerate Transition to Clean Energy, or otherwise known as PACE, which we signed with the UAE 2 years ago. We look forward to expanding this collaboration over the coming months and years. UAE is also, we might add, a leading partner in the President's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investments.
So then, of course, as you know, next week is the big UN week. Here's Kirby, real quick, 30 seconds about President Biden's plans in New York.
As you know, we'll be traveling to New York City on Monday afternoon for the 79th meeting of the UN General Assembly. Throughout all his engagements up there in New York, he will reaffirm America's leadership on the world stage. He'll rally global action to tackle the world's most pressing challenges, including climate, the opioid epidemic, mobilizing resources for developing countries, managing the risks and benefits of artificial intelligence, and helping end the brutal wars in Gaza, Ukraine, and Sudan, among many other critically important issues.
So I am meeting President Biden. I'm polling with him on the 23rd in the afternoon. And then for the UN week, you know, I worked at UN. My butt was flat sitting there listening to speeches that are written a week ago, and you get the copies of it and all of it. I don't want to see Russians talking about, because they're the headlines, right? They're guiding Security Council. So they're telling who to speak and when and how. I had my share listening to Russians. By the way, same freaking people a decade ago. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it to myself, and I don't want to waste time. So what I decided is I'm going to cover Secretary Yellen. She's, of course, in New York, and her events. So I'm covering Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever, until Thursday. Events where she's meeting with leaders. It will be about investing in infrastructure. It will be about climate and clean energy. It will be also about supporting women and women entrepreneurs. So I'm going with her to different events and covering it in New York City. Connected to UN, I will be in different locations as well as UN. And so other events at the UN I will be specifically covering, but not General Assembly where you just sit and listen to speeches that, you know, we all can download already now. I can have a readout if you want. So for that reason, I just want us to have actual news, and that's what matters, what really matters. Not who said, she said, he said, and all this empty stuff, right? I refer to UN as the waste of real estate in New York, but again, this is my opinion. Because I kind of been there, done that, didn't even get a t-shirt. Off-topic journalism news. Oliver Darcy reports in his newsletter status that Olivia Nuzzi is on leave from New York Magazine after the outlet learned about her romantic relationship. Oh, really? All right. Nobody wants to see Urkistan is talking, full stop. Works. Exactly. And it's been same people a decade ago, same people. At that time, they were invading Georgia and saying that they're protecting Georgians. Now, a decade later, they're invading Ukraine and bombing our house and still saying that they're protecting people. Like, shut up, please. The cool thing I'm looking forward to, by the way, is the president of Finland raised the question, and it will be up for discussion at the UN because he put it up for discussion, to eliminate Russia from Security Council. That's nice. I'll cover that. That is nice. Really a long time overdue. I just saw that. I need to read about that. Really? New York Magazine? Olivia, really? Boy. Okay. Trump. I have a clip. Trump thought he had audience at the debate. I saw the audience of 4 people. He was one of the 4, but here's Trump.
They even said,
Yeah.
but all of them, and they didn't correct her once, and they corrected me everything I said practically, and I think 9 times or 11 times, and the audience was absolutely, they went crazy, and the real, I thought it was, I walked.
So he was corrected 3 times that babies can be aborted upon birth, right? That Haitians are not eating cats and dogs and pets. And I think, was that the third one is related to January 6th, right? That he lost and that he actually provoked them. I can be wrong. Tell me what the third one is. But there was no audience. I don't know what the hell he's referring to. Yeah, exactly. That clip went viral. Well, there was this guy from Fox News there, but otherwise, I would ask Trump, is that audience with us right now, Donald? Are these people now with us? Do you hear their voices? Because you might learn more than you paid for. Let's talk about the FBI. So the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, so-called ODNI, FBI, and CISA released a statement detailing Iran's ongoing efforts to influence U.S. elections. Since August 19, the FBI has discovered that Iranian cyber actors sent unsolicited emails to individuals linked to President Biden's campaign, including excerpts from stolen material from former President Trump's campaign. Additionally, these actors have targeted U.S. media with stolen content from Trump's campaign. This activity highlights Iran's strategy to sow discord and undermine confidence, blah, blah, blah. What I think does happen, I mean, sometimes I post those press releases from Trump's campaign. We can, right now, come up in 5 seconds with all their points that they are talking about. It's very predictable. It's very much spoken on. So I just wonder, what could be that secret information that Biden's campaign has learned from Iranians hackers that Trump was about to say? That Biden is old, that he's falling down the stairs, that Bidenomics sucks. Like, what was that secret information? What I think is happening now is that they were counting to be found out and to be used for it. Because Trump sent out today a whole press release demanding Kamala Harris to step down because now she's compromised. She gets all these things from Iranians, and she needs to be stepping away because she got all that secret information from Trump. But who aids that, if you think it? Trump. Whom does Iran and their regime wants to see at the White House? Trump. So for that reason, I would encourage us not to fall for the okie doke, not to read it as is and say, oh my God, Harris benefited. Benefited from what? What was that secret information that now saves her campaign? If you have contact with Kislitsa, tell him he has the undying respect for some random American for bearing the weight, for being Ukraine's witness to the world through all the genocide. I want to interview him. I want to talk to him after the UN thing, because now that's crazy. But certainly, I worked at the permanent mission of Ukraine in the beginning, so it was his predecessor. He needs a full cognitive psychological examination. He needs to be away, number one. Then, yeah. I agree, though. I agree, Terry. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fallon is losing his mind more than every day. Yeah, indeed. Shameless from Mr. Burry. But her emails. Yeah, exactly. All right. So DOJ, the Justice Department, has disrupted a massive project, put it this way, of over 200,000 consumer devices linked to Chinese state-sponsored hackers from Integrity Technology Group, ironic name, known as Flex Typhoon. This operation targeted routers, IP cameras, and more, allowing malicious activities disguised as normal internet traffic. Despite attempts to obstruct the FBI's efforts, the takedown was successful. Attorney General Garland emphasized the U.S. commitment to countering these threats, while the FBI continues to investigate the group's activities. Affected device owners will be notified. This operation underscores the wrong word here. I think the underscores how it affects the national security. Now, when I was reading into it, when I got into their report into depth, what they were trying to do is to hack Taiwan and companies that work with US in Taiwan to compromise it. So that's what the attack was targeting, not really US devices, but those in Taiwan connected with business in US. Now let's talk about Israel. So recent deadly explosions of electronic devices used by militias in Lebanon have significantly raised the Pentagon's fears about a potential escalation. And the ground war between Israel and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Even prior to widespread detonations, and on September 17, 18, U.S. Defense Secretary Austin expressed concerns in a September 16 meeting with senior Pentagon officials that Israel might soon initiate an offensive. Netanyahu needs to stay in power. He doesn't want any peace talks. He needs to do something, right? Trump ain't coming till January in his mind. So, time to act. So, following months of escalating rocket and air attacks against Iranian-hacked militia that dominates the region. Now, Hezbollah leader, today, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Hassan Nasrallah, said Israel's actions amounted to a declaration of war. Quote, "This criminal act is a major terrorist operation, an act of genocide and massacre, and amounts to declaration of war. We received severe blow, but this is the state of war, and we realize that the enemy has technological superiority, especially since it's supported by the United States and the West. When we enter the conflict, we bet on effort, jihad, and attrition, and we have been victorious repeatedly so far." End quote. They haven't been victorious. They are a terrorist group with very limited capabilities. Certainly, we know that. They're backed by Iran. So saying that Israel is backed by US, but they're so lone standing, right? No, they're backed by Iran. But, to be frank, what Kirby confirmed yesterday, the National Security Communications Kirby, confirmed that there are no improvements when it comes to peace talks since last week's update. So nothing has improved, for better or worse. It's still standing, right? And then we asked, reporters asked us to, but you said 90% of the deal is already approved on. And he said, look, the framework of the peace agreement has been written down. It has been agreed upon. And then Israel did not agree. So the reporters say, but then Israel did not agree to the, to the approval, but Hamas did agree. And then Kirby said, listen, when Hamas said we would agree with these changes, it doesn't mean they are agreeing. They're bringing up changes, which were not something up for discussion for Israel. So for that reason, it's a still stand. And now Israel did the operation, which was dramatic, very entertaining, certainly frightening if it were to be reversed, with the badges and all that, with the pagers and walkie-talkies exploding. We talked about it yesterday, day before yesterday. I showed you footage. I think more people were injured and dead than they have reported. They reported 12 were injured and thousands, about 3,000 or something more injured. But certainly we saw the videos. I think the numbers are not truthful in that regard. But certainly that might lead to more escalation. So we'll see. Now let's talk about Ukraine, which is connected to the UNGA, or as they call UNGA, the week at the UN. Zelensky will be addressing the UN on the 24th. He is presenting his peace plan. And here we talked about it a few weeks ago that he's writing a peace plan. He wants to present it to Biden. Zelensky has informed that 90% of the plan is ready. Somehow today, Polish foreign minister, who I have admired, Sikorsky, right, and I quote him many times and present his videos, somehow he said, we need to give Russia Crimea and then talk about peace plan, because then the peace plan would be possible. And I'm like, would you give up Warsaw? Would you give up some parts of Poland to talk about peace deals? Because with this narrative, it's just a matter of time till you have to consider that, because they will be going further and they might be invading you next. So what kind of nonsense is that? But State Department says that it has designated 5 entities and 1 individual for facilitating illicit payment mechanism between Russia and North Korea. This action aims to disrupt networks between DPRK's weapons programs and supporting Russia's war in Ukraine. The growing financial ties between Russia and North Korea pose threats to international security and the global financial system as Russia becomes more reliant on North Korea for its own international isolation, which leads to its international isolation. The sanctions target violations of UN Security Council resolutions prohibiting financial dealings with DPRK banks. The US intends to continue disrupting these illicit networks. But now what Russia did, using the North Korean equipment, Iranian equipment, they did bomb today, and I showed it online. I'm not gonna show you the pictures now because it's late. Let's not do it. But they bombed a geriatric home today. 221 people, old people, are now homeless without any shelter. Many have been injured, severely injured. Many have passed away. They keep targeting in Sumy region. They keep targeting civilians. They keep targeting hospitals, kindergartens, hospitals that treat kids with cancer. So it's just disgusting. All of it is disgusting. And then meeting at the UN in New York, sitting there comfortably, listening to speeches from Russia that dictates who speaks and how much, and then breaking for lunch and doing more. Such disgrace, waste of everything. Now, Zelensky office confirmed this next week. Ukrainian president will visit U.S. to address UN General Assembly, engage with American defense and energy companies, and meet with Ukrainian community. He will hold bilateral talks with various leaders and is expected to meet with President Biden to discuss his plan for victory. That's what I refer to as 90% ready as of now, and U.S. support for Ukraine. Additionally, Zelensky plans to meet with Vice President Harris, bipartisan members of Congress, and former President Trump. You know what I think about it. Now, what White House says, September 26, Biden and Vice President Harris will meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky at the White House to discuss an ongoing war with Russia. So UN will pass. Biden will address UN 24th. Zelensky will address UN. There will be debate as to allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia or not. The sources say that Pentagon questions the exact plan, Ukraine's plan as to strikes inside Russia. They have the list of the targets, but they want to know what is the main goal. How is it going to lead to victory or to better conditions in negotiation process? So that is where that plan to victory is coming in. So that might lead to US allowing those strikes. Again, I mentioned it already twice. I'm going to mention it 3 times. I think the strikes will happen, and then US will say, oh, we actually did approve it. Fine. Or we'll say it needs more investigation. I think the strikes are coming. We saw yesterday a swarm of drones targeted a big military facility in Russia, in Tver region, that destroyed the Korean ballistic missiles, Iranian that were just delivered, a bunch of other stuff as well. So C-300, C-400, all military equipment. So it is happening. And that happened 480 kilometers away from the border. So the capabilities are there. It's Ukrainian drones, but yeah, I think more is being done than it's talked about, which is deservingly so. So Biden and Harris are meeting at the White House, and then they will focus on Ukraine's strategic planning and U.S. support, reiterating their commitment to standing with Ukraine until it prevails. So that's it for the politics. Another news that I wanted to share, that Earth is getting another mini moon. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see it. But starting next week, Earth will have a temporary new neighbor, a mini moon named 2024 PT5. From September 29 to November 25, this asteroid will orbit Earth before eventually escaping the planet's gravitational pull. Unfortunately, we can't see it with the bare eye, but if you have a really good telescope, you might be seeing it. I'll post some pictures. I'm like a space nerd and NASA and all that kind of stuff. I used to watch all the SpaceX liftoffs, and they do call like different stages, and landings. Was nerding about it until Musk became more of himself, I guess, and now I'm not watching it, but I'm really a nerd about it. So also, lastly, let me share a favorite video. So I decided before I leave off every night, I'm gonna share some good video that we can go to bed happy, because sometimes I talk about nasty stuff and wars or whatever, and then we leave off that. So let's watch one video that I want to show you. But before that, let me answer some questions or read your comments. Better said, Netanyahu is the type of man who thinks a show of strength is character of true leadership. Yeah, exactly. Trump potency. Yeah, I agree, Keith. Yep, Michael agrees too. I read there are more munition sites that are located by Ukraine. Yeah, but also today it was the rumor that I think it was a rumor planted by Politico, or don't quote me, but there was a rumor planted that U.S. said military facilities are not legit targets, which I'm thinking must be a rumor because that makes no sense. Also, European Union today, the Parliament voted, or was it the Parliament? Anyway, European Union Commission, I think, voted to allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia and push U.S. to do so. So that might affect the decision coming up soon. What's next? Why meeting with Trump? I think he's playing politics in case Trump wins, that type of thing. Maybe it's a photo op. Hope Trump doesn't tell him to surrender. Yeah, I think Zelensky, it's true diplomat, you won't listen to Trump. I think it's just a photo op thing. It's just giving Trump the photo op. Same as Modi goes and meets Trump. What is Trump deciding now? Nothing, Okay, so let's watch a video that I want to show you. You probably haven't seen it. So Hillary Clinton talked about, she wrote a book, so she's doing this press tour, and she's coming to Carnegie Hall in New York and different other cities. Go ahead, visit that. I'm recommending. And so she talked about the First Ladies Club, which doesn't really exist, but she explains where it came from. It's a 3-minute video. Please watch it. It's really wholesome.
Also write in the book about the so-called sisterhood of presidential wives.
Right.
Is that real?
It's not exactly.
Were you lying?
It's a phrase that Jimmy Carter's grandson used about first ladies at Rosalind Carter's funeral.
Right.
Which I went to on Air Force One with President and Mrs. Biden and Michelle Obama and Bill and I. And when he said that, it sort of struck me. I mean, I'd never thought about it as a sisterhood. We're very different people. But it caused me to reflect about this experience that I had as First Lady for 8 years. and the other women who I'd gotten to know in that role.
Yeah.
And I write about how we landed in Atlanta. We got into the motorcade to go to the church where the memorial service was to be held. And we walked into the basement of the church where all the dignitaries were being rounded up. And I saw Laura Bush, who is just absolutely delightful, talking with Melania Trump. Oh. And none of us knew that she was going to be there. And, Michelle and Jill Biden and I were, like, wow, nobody told us. But immediately, all of our training, our good manners, everybody immediately went up, and Michelle gave her one of her hugs, and even Jill, said how glad she was to see her, and I said hello to her. And I write about how I thought it was a very positive thing for her to show up.
Yeah.
And obviously,
you can give that. You can give it that.
Yeah.
You can give it that.
It's probably scary too.
I think it was a little scary. I mean, I say she looks like the kid on the outside of the birthday party.
Yeah.
Like, am I going to be accepted? Do I belong here? So I think that when Jason Carter talked about the sisterhood, there are certain experiences, even though we are obviously very different people. And I talk about the extraordinary friendship that Lady Bird Johnson extended to me, that Jackie Kennedy extended to me. It made such a difference at critical times. I mean, I was in the White House for, maybe a week, and it's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
And Jackie Kennedy had endorsed Bill early and had said, if you ever want to talk, let me know. And I literally called her up and said, can I come see you? So I came to New York and went to her apartment, and we talked about raising children. She talked about, Caroline and John in the White House. I was obviously working hard to make sure Chelsea, who you all know, had as normal a childhood as possible. I mean, it was so kind and so extraordinarily helpful to me. So there is a relationship that I thought it would be worth describing to people because I have this experience that is, pretty unique.
I just realized I have 43 unread emails from the White House, so interesting. I'm going to read all that. But pretty interesting, and it's so cool as to, for me, I love Jackie Kennedy. I read all the books about her. I have, if I can recommend to you, there is a book called, anyway, I'll post about it, from her Secret Service agent, who has been protecting her entire life, and he's still alive, by the way. And he told all his sort of untold stories, and for me, it's like it's a history thing. And then Hillary says, "Oh, Jackie Kennedy told her," so it's like it's so recent, That was my takeaway, but so wholesome, and then it's interesting how Melania, right? They're like, "Oh, she was there. She's like the outsider," and it's interesting how she is still an outsider. Whoopi, yeah, I loved Clinton's Zelensky. Okay, yeah, all right, guys. Thank you. Tomorrow, we're all good. By the way, I just got accredited for the events with Secretary Yellen. So, woohoo! Next week we are going there, all of us together. A lot of things about climate. Bloomberg will be speaking, like a bunch of other stuff. So maybe we can ask people some questions. Let's see. But certainly, I'd love to know more as to what the administration is doing and what the Harris administration plans to do. I never paid attention to first ladies until Michelle. Well, we girls, we do. We girls, we do. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. Rest well too. You too, Michael. Thank you so much. Okay, have a good night. Super late. So if you're watching this in the morning, have a great day. Go knock it out. TGIF Friday. Do your thing. Okay. I'm going to send you now your newsletter and study all my 43 unread emails. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great night and see you tomorrow.